Welcome to Inside the Sound Chamber. I'm Don Reed Simmons, and I'm part of the International Sound Therapy Association. And ISTA is having its 20th anniversary conference this October the 2nd through the 5th. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, and we've got some amazing speakers that are going to be here for this conference. So I encourage all of our listeners to be able to go online to the link below, istasounds.org. Click the link and come and join us in Atlanta, October the 2nd through the 5th. We've got these incredible speakers, one of which is going to be coming to us from Australia. She's here with me right now. I'm so incredibly happy to present Annie Ridgway. Annie, thank you so much for being here. I know it's very early in the morning for you there in Australia, so thank you and good morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, Don, and I really appreciate being invited to be a part of this wonderful conference.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
you're one of the principal teachers for the Sound Healing Academy. And Sound Healing Academy is one of the premier educational places for sound healing and therapy. One of our board members, Natalie Brown, is one of the teachers also. She actually recommended for you to be a part of this, and I'm so excited to have you there. One of the things in looking something up about you is that you come from a music background and writing background.
Hmm.
Can you tell me something about your early beginnings of music, rhythm, poetry, and how that may influence you, who you are now and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, it goes back a way, I think ever since I was a kid, I used to really enjoy listening to records, LPs, that my brother used to buy. He and his friends would get together and listen to music. And so I would sort of listen to those records as well and get right up against the stereo and listen to especially Jimi Hendrix and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And I would just be fascinated and sort of enthralled by the guitar breaks, with Jimi Hendrix, but also the beautiful melodies that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young would sing as a quartet. So that really spoke to me a lot. And then I was given my sister's Spanish guitar that she didn't play anymore, so I started to teach myself how to play by ear, and then I started to learn different songs that I loved. And Peter Frampton actually was one of the first musicians whose songs I learnt.
Really?
And yeah, yeah.
Wow. That's
And then
pretty complex, I gotta say.
I know,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I used to get those books where you had the guitar charts, and I would just follow the guitar tablature and the words, and I would,
yeah.
learn the songs. And then it got into me writing music to other people's poetry.
Hmm.
And then I started to write my own songs in my early 20s. And first of all, I put out a little cassette. And then I started to, take it a bit more seriously. And I went into a studio and started to write my own songs. For me, it was a real therapy and a mode of expression. You know how, creativity is the juice of life, isn't it? So for me, that was my catalyst for creativity, but also
Hmm.
an expression. And then it was, another catalyst for getting into sound, further down the track. Yeah.
Now, I understand that one of my favorite books and should be on everybody's library, The Healing Power of Sounds by Mitchell Kaner. Tell me
Yeah.
something about from music to sound therapy and how that book helped move you from one to the other.
Absolutely. Well, I was in a duo with a friend in Sydney at the time, and her then husband had sound bowls, had singing bowls, and he was doing massage, and I was very intrigued by the singing bowls that he had in his room. And sound therapy was quite early on people's radar, I think, in Australia back then. And I stayed overnight one night, and I noticed on the bookshelf was that book, and I just grabbed it. I took it down and I had a read, and I was like, wow, this is just, amazing. that this oncologist was integrating music and sound to help people's healing journey. So I asked my friend if I could borrow that book, and of course that was fine. And I read it cover to cover, and I got my own copy, and I've got it earmarked, and I
Yeah.
go back to it again and again, and especially in the workshops because that I teach, because it's just so relevant for people to be inspired by,
Yeah.
and the obvious benefits and amazing miraculous recoveries that some people were able to make, by infusing sound and the singing bowls, but also toning
Yeah.
into their daily practice.
And speaking of toning, you're going to be
Mm.
speaking at the ISTA conference on Saturday, October the 3rd at 2 p.m. And
Yep.
you're going to be talking on and having us experience Nadia Yoga, as well as a little bit of a short kirtan. Explain to us how Nadia Yoga came to you and
Mm.
how it sort of infuses your life in a daily world, if you could.
Absolutely. Well, some years ago, nearly 10 years ago now, I went over to Nepal on it was a retreat, a 10-day retreat with a wonderful man, Sudhanshu Sharma. Some people may know him. Wonderful teacher, wonderful kirtan leader, rag leader.
Hmm.
And he took us through the Nad Yoga process, and we would get up at 4 a.m. So it's quite pertinent, really, now that I'm up at 4 a.m. um, and um, and we would do this practice at the crack of dawn, and we were right, beneath the Himalayas, and it was really quite magical. And it is a very centering practice. It's a very calming the nervous system practice, but it's also very energizing as well. And the different tones that we would go through will be affecting different parts of the body and resonating in different sort of chambers of the body. And a daily practice with this can be incredibly beneficial. And I was doing it every morning for many months, and I'll be doing it again in
Yeah.
preparation for the conference as well. And these things are easy to lapse. You can sort of let them go, and something else can take its place. But it's always a wonderful one to pick up again because of its benefits. And
And I think of Nadia Yoga very much like meditation. And
mhm,
that's, and as a meditation teacher, I would ask someone, how's your meditation practice? And they go, oh, I haven't done it in so long. I say, well, part of the practice is just coming back.
exactly.
And the
Yeah,
same thing with Nadia Yoga is
yeah,
that it's about the coming back. How
yeah.
do people who practice Nadia Yoga, how does that help them center, for example, before a session, or does it work that way? How does it work?
Before a sound healing session.
Yeah.
It can definitely work as a centering practice and a meditation practice before, doing a sound healing if you're a practitioner.
Hmm.
Absolutely, yes. It's like meditation, or can be a very short practice. It could be anywhere between 10 minutes to 21 minutes, depending on
Hmm.
how many repetitions that you decide that you're going to do.
Right.
But certainly incredibly grounding, helping you to be very present
Hmm.
and in your body,
Hmm.
for in preparation for either, going into a sound healing session, being a sound healing practitioner. Yes, certainly it certainly helped me
Yeah.
very much in the grounding and centering of
Do you
myself in
feel
my being.
do you
Mm.
feel that this practice is more an internal practice? Does it also affect the body, the muscles, the organs? Is it
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit of both? Tell me about how it actually physically works in the body.
Absolutely. Well, I'll just give you an example. With the two tones an and hum, those two tones, when you hum those on a particular note, the un actually resonates the back part of your head, the back chamber of your head. And that un sound is also excellent for clearing away any kind of mucus and any kind of sort of interference in your skull, in your fascia, it can kind of smooth that out. Very, very good for toning if you have a cold, for example. And then the humming sound is then resonating in the front of your face. So it's been said that it's a natural facial. And that also is wonderful for clearing the sinuses. And that's a physical effect, but it's also this whole thing of, going inward and within
Yeah.
yourself. It can also influence the pineal gland and the pituitary gland both, because one is at the back and one's at the front, sitting above the sphenoid bone, the
You know,
pituitary.
it's amazing because we think about sound therapy as a bowl, a gong, a bell, the
Mm.
external things that we have, but
Yeah.
we have a beautiful instrument that is lying within. And
Mm.
things like what you were just saying, I mean, it makes sense, the on and the hum, to be able to center ourselves. And if we center ourselves, I like to think of ourselves a little bit like a tuning fork, that as we tune up, then the person we are with or the group we're with tunes itself also.
Absolutely. There's that entrainment as well. And so doing it with a group of people is a wonderful thing, because you're entraining one another. It's collective. It's
Yeah.
creating a oneness and a unity, which is really quite beautiful as well. Um, but these practices, they're just amazing, because we are vibrating on the inside. And what it does also, apart from having an effect on the body, it's also transforming our attitude and our approach and our sense of how we respond in the world, which is also fantastic, because it makes us more peaceful and more responsive rather than reactive, and less succumbing to stress and the daily stresses of life.
We'll definitely use that.
Mm, yeah.
When you is this something, as you're teaching, that those who are a part of this class would be able to take this and move it out into their world, their uh, working with others? Or is there a larger learning curve to this?
I think so. It's a very simple practice. It's not something that requires, endless study to be
Yeah.
able to do. It's very, very simple. And I'm doing it. I wasn't the one that invented it.
Right.
I went to a teacher in Nepal and I learned it. So I am
Yeah,
translating it. So it is something that could be passed on. And it was with his blessing, of course.
of course.
And so yes, I would always acknowledge Sadanshu
Yeah.
for passing this on to me, and I have found great benefit. So certainly, as I translate it to others, they can take it away and they could do it with a group of people in their home, or first of all on their own, and then sharing it with others. Yeah,
I've studied meditation a lot, and there's a great saying in meditation. Meditation is really easy. It just takes a lifetime to perfect.
that's
And
right.
so it's the
That's right.
same
So
thing.
true.
It's really
Yeah,
easy. It's
yeah.
the doing, and it's the
It's the
constant
doing.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the discipline of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
talk to me about kirtan and how that works with Nadia Yoga, and what you do with that.
Mm. Yes, well, I have an amazing teacher I have been with now for, I'd say, 6 years in Australia, and I'm learning to play the harmonium. I've learned
Oh,
many, many mantra with her. And I think mantra was my segue into sound, I would say, because, being a musician and a singer-songwriter, I wanted to learn all the mantras. So when I was going on my way to work, when I was working in I say the corporate world, it was education, but it was kind of a corporate position. And I would listen to the mantra and I would learn it, in a CD player in my car, and I'd recite it. And I derived great benefit from chanting mantra. And
mhm.
it certainly changed things for me. And I was able to sort of, change my internal perspective and world. And then therefore, my external world would change as well. That's the magic of it when you actually chant these
Yeah.
mantras. So I've been learning kirtan for about 6 or 7 years. Doesn't sound like a very long time, but there's a lot that's translated in that time. And I go to kirtan quite regularly as well, and I do lead them as well from time to time. Um,
Yeah.
and
And I
so
can
yeah,
really see how also being in group setting that
mm,
it activates even more of that power of the chant.
oh yes,
To be
yeah,
able to chant on your own is wonderful and good.
yeah,
Having
yeah,
that call and response and the energy moving back and forth, like
mm,
breathing, again,
yeah.
it centers you in your state.
Yes, but it also creates an ecstatic emotion as well. You can become really very blissful as the energy builds in the room. So usually
Yeah.
with a kirtan, it begins quite um, slowly and with regularity, so that we're in training and coming into a calm state, a sense of calmness, and the nervous system is settling. And then, it can then gradually increase in its tempo and rhythm, such that, your body is so relaxed, you start to loosen up and you start to feel the energy of the kirtan and of the sentiment of the kirtan
Hmm.
moving in your body. Hence, people want to dance, people want to, start clapping, and it gets
Hmm.
faster and faster, and the energy builds, and then you bring it down again to this calmness, and then there's a sort of a still point. So it's just magical.
And all of these are great techniques for sound therapists to be able to incorporate within their personal and professional life. Uh,
Absolutely.
because, regardless, we're all human, we're all
Mm,
driving on the freeway, so to speak,
yeah.
and we're not devoid of everyday stress. And this is a
Mm,
great way to help tune the body, mind, and
yeah,
spirit
absolutely.
in doing the work we do.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I find it really important. Let's switch a little bit. You are one of the teachers for Sound Healing Academy. Talk to me about the importance of education in doing things like conferences.
Mm, absolutely. Well, sound healing, as it becomes more credible, which it is, we know it's the medicine of the future and also of the present. Um, it's so important to be ethical with it. And, as it is a very powerful and potent medicine, it's our responsibility to treat it as such, to treat it with respect. And so I think that, training is absolutely imperative to get good training and to really do your work, and do the work and do the case studies that give you the practice and learning the nuances of the craft, of the art and the science of sound healing. And we have a huge responsibility in that way, because sometimes, if people are doing sound healing, and they're doing it in good faith, they're doing it because they love it, and that's wonderful. But if you haven't done the training, sometimes without knowing it, you could be doing some damage as well. So it's so important to get the good training and to understand what contraindicators are,
Mhm.
to understand protocols and techniques that actually work and help people and are very targeted and very specific for different healing and health conditions. And of course, attending conferences and learning from other professionals and people that have been in the field for many years, like Jean Beaulieu, for example, is wonderful. These people are the giants of the sound healing, and they've learnt from many traditions and from their own very disciplined practice. So, having the opportunity to come along to a conference like ISTA is putting on, and listening to John Beaulieu and Christine Stevens and the other wonderful speakers that you have, the high in the field, so beneficial. I mean, I will be tuning into those classes for sure.
Yeah.
Mm,
And it's so true in regards to, you talk about entrainment, of
mm,
how we do entrainment with sound and voice and things like that. And being in a conference is
mm,
entrainment itself, being
Absolutely.
with the like-minded people who really have taken the steps in the world to teach and to learn from others for years on end. We
Mm,
become entrained with that higher potential.
absolutely. And Don,
Yeah,
it's a real connection with the heart. As you know, the heart is the greatest transmitter of
yeah,
frequency, and when we're opening and we're, receiving, and we're also giving and of ourselves, that heart connection is undeniable, and it's something that you carry with you, and it adds another layer, another piece to raising your own vibration,
yeah,
as well, so that you
yeah.
can take that out into the world.
And it's amazing you bring that up. The people that I've met through ISTA, through this conference, people who are coming to speak at the conference, as well as people who are coming to attend the conference, they're, they're all great-hearted people. I
Yeah.
mean, just one of those things that you get involved and engaged with virtually anybody at a conference, and you feel like this great big, beautiful hug almost,
Yeah,
because
that's right.
people are
Yeah.
very heart conscious.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
and open and authentic. And
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that sound has done for me. It's sort of given me a sense of authenticity,
Mhm.
where, it has opened me up. And it's also given me, it's sort of a twofold thing. It opens you up, but it also gives you an amazing force field, you could say,
Mm.
to be able to manage and walk through the complexity of the world.
I really like that, and to expand on that, which is exactly
Mm,
that concept, is that
yeah.
with doing this work, your own energetic field expands through
Hmm.
that authenticity. And I think
Absolutely. It
that's,
does.
again, the idea of education. You're getting the right education of this work. So you're expanding in ways that have a level of integrity to it.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And then, within that, there is no ego. I mean, we all have the ego. The ego is always present, but we can always come back to our essence, where
Yeah.
there is no such thing. That's where our pure essential nature resides, in the heart. And
Wow.
sound is just one of those things that can really enhance that and bring that out more and more every day.
I love that.
Mm.
Is there anything else you would like to add about what you're doing with the conference or thoughts about sound healing and sound therapy?
Well, just what came to mind, and I always love to mention this, and I always love to honor this, because this is one of the very little synchronicities that came into my life to led me on the path to sound. And it was something that my daughter wrote for me, and I'll always bring it up. It
I
never
love
gets
it.
old. She wrote me a poem many years ago, a very short poem that really, put a kernel inside of me that I wasn't aware of at the time. But the poem went like this: an array of sounds fills space, like clear water pigments in a clear ringing bowl. The color of sound changes all the time, but the sound canvas remains the same, that being silence.
Wow.
Yeah, I know,
Your
right?
daughter wrote that for you?
My daughter wrote that for me when she was 16 years old, and it was at a time when I was feeling at a low point with my work, and I just was expressing that to her, and she goes, "Mum, let me write you a poem." And it just came out of her. It was just channeled
Wow.
through her. It was incredible. But I guess
Wow.
that's the thing, I guess with the practice that I'll be doing too, there'll be an array of sounds. And, then there'll be silence. So those two things go hand in hand.
The sound and the silence really do go
Yeah.
hand in hand. And
Yeah.
what a great poem. What a great experience, especially coming from your daughter.
I know.
In many ways, it's sort of like your soul speaking to yourself from another entity
Yes, that's right. That's right.
that's here to remind you what this is really all about.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Once again, could I ask you, what is it that you're speaking on October the 3rd?
Yes, of course. I'll be taking people through and explaining the benefits of Nadi Yoga. And we will be, I'll be demonstrating, and we'll be doing it together, the practice of Nadi Yoga toning. And then we will also be doing some kirtan, call and response, collective singing together. It will be lots of fun and beautiful energy that we can all share together.
That's wonderful. It'll be coming live from Australia.
Australia.
So
Yep,
that
down
is
under.
just from down under. I love it. Annie, thank you so much for being a part of ISTA, for being a part of conference and being a part of this interview. I really appreciate it. I think the people that are coming to this conference, you're going to get a great, vast knowledge of speakers like Annie coming to help raise the vibration of who you are, to be able to get out and do the work that is so incredibly magical that it is truly the medicine of the world. I want to thank everybody for listening to this. Until the next time, I'm Don Reed Simmons, and you are inside the sound chamber. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don.